All right, video number 74. We're getting somewhere. Today, still feeling super tired from the trip. I think I think I really pushed myself a little bit too much, and that's just a good lesson learned. I hope I didn't like develop any kind of like longer lasting sicknesses, because then it could be annoying over the next few weeks. So hopefully, just tired. Uh, I think a couple more days or maybe it'll take until the weekend until I have, a day where I actually don't work. But whatever. It's still a couple days, still in the middle of the week now. We'll get there. Bunch of meetings scheduled, a couple meetings today. One was with the guy for the podcast, which he right away started pitching me. He wanted to sell me, basically for him to do the podcast. That's what his company is. He's starting. The thing is, he's just a new company. He's just starting. He has no credibility. He offered to be able to do the podcast for me as a producer and do everything together. Now, on the one hand, that's cool. That's a good thing. I want someone to do that. On the other hand, do I really need someone to do that, right? The only reason I'm making this podcast, well, the only reason I had originally wanted to make this podcast is really just to get out there, um, and get more comfortable talking on the camera and stuff, right? I want to have this type of thing off the camera, off record. Don't want this to go in publicity, but otherwise, the one that I do want to go in publicity is, or not even necessarily go in publicity, but really just get comfortable talking on camera. Then, on the other hand, if that grows in publicity, that'll support WSpec as a brand, right? Which is very important. And I want to make a big push for that anyway. The question is, do I have a budget for that? And second is, do we even need that, right? We have a marketing team for WSpec. We have people that can do this properly, um, and get stuff done and get really good stuff done. So I don't know if I want to pay someone to do that, right? Especially since technically I have this experience doing these videos, and these aren't getting anywhere, and that's good. And this is that experience on camera. We're just somewhat getting used to it, all while, going up to the next stage, which is in front of an audience. But it, my point is, without any kind of proven record, there's no saying that he's going to even get me anyone. So he's just selling me something on the hopes that maybe he can build me an audience without any audience. There's no selling point on that. So, and he's not charging cheap either. He's charging actually, I mean, again, I don't know what these rates are. I don't know what these companies usually charge, but I think his rates are pretty high for a producer, again, for nothing, right? For no credibility. It's not like he's some top Hollywood producer who's then offering me his services. So yeah, I don't know. He offered to do kind of a sample version, sort of to see what we're gonna get. I'll take that. I think we'll run that together. We'll do it sometime in a couple of weeks. Just go over the entire, do a sample podcast and basically get a feel of what the real thing would look like. Yeah, I don't know. I think we'll see. I'll do that. We'll see what it looks like. I think if it looks really good, if I think he can build me a huge following, that'd be very good. If not, then not, right? If not, then yeah, having a podcast in general might be a very good idea. I think if we can get the regular W Spec marketing team working on that, that would be good. Uh, I think in general, that's something a lot of these organizations have is a podcast, and I think it can sell. A podcast sells, it does well, it has the right type of people, and you can just talk about different things. We have to see. We have to see. I think it'd be a very good idea, as a company, as there's a lot of things that we need to do. We really need to start having a real budget and real money. And I think that's the I guess my only not my only I guess one big weakness that I have though is where I just take it very chill and just kind of because money doesn't matter so much to me, so I just kind of assume it doesn't matter to everyone else, and I do start realizing that it demotivates people because some people only want to work for the money, and if there's no money, it's not so interesting to keep working. And that's just something I have to, just respect. It is what it is. And I have to start earning money on these stuff to be able to pay everyone else. So yeah, I gotta start somehow drawing in real money, and that's where we need the sponsorships and everything like that. Hopefully we get that all worked on. So everything kind of goes in a circle at the end of the day, and it's just gonna be about keep going, reach out to a bunch of a bunch, few of the people that I got business cards for at the conference. So we'll see where they go, some connections, you never know. And this is kind of, the funny thing about all these companies, yeah, you don't know where they're gonna go. It's, the way I see business, and I get the whole concept of making, reaching out to people, being, very intense with them. But to me, it's I feel like if I email you and you don't respond to me, it's your loss, right? And I'm not saying I'm not going to follow up maybe once, but after that, if you still haven't responded to me, or you're playing games and it's hard to catch you, then you're lost, right? I know I'm selling a good product. I know I'm going to end up being successful, like I keep saying, because I'm not going to give up. That's it. And just because I know if one thing doesn't work, I'm going to keep going until something does work. So, or I'm going to die trying, right? One of the two. But regardless, it's your loss if you don't jump on it. If you don't get on, when you have the chance, then you may never get another chance, or you may get a chance tomorrow, right? At the end of the day, I think, and the key thing, and I was actually doing this today because I was thinking about someone, and I was like, the person was a little bit, yeah, it wasn't very nice, but it made me stop for a second and realize I keep saying this, right? Get rid of your ego. Like, sure, he wasn't nice to me, sure, whatever, it is what it is, but it's my ego, right? Like, so you made me feel like I didn't have any product, and I'm really, that's that. So what? So who cares? Okay. I'm going to do any business with you because if I see a benefit for you and for me, I'll do business with you, right? It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that you hurt me the day before. It doesn't have to do anything because that's business, right? It has to go beyond your emotions. And I think thinking about having done that, but also just thinking about that for the future, it's just business is has to be removed from your ego at the end of the day. And that's why, yeah, you didn't trust me day one or you didn't respond to me. I reached out to you 10 times. I'll still do business with you the 11th time. I still will because if it makes sense in the moment, I will. It's not my ego. It's the only thing that would tell me that it doesn't make sense. And again, if people don't respond, there's two ways I think of it, right? Number one, you don't care about me. Okay. But then if you only care about people once they're a certain level of important, what does that say about your character, right? I'll do business with you again as a business, but what does that say about your character as a person? Then second, it could be that you're just not organized, right? And the fact that you're missing emails and stuff like that could be a bad sign if we're doing business together, if you're potentially going to ignore me in the future or miss my email, right? So those are things that I always think about. Um, and that's why it's best not to play games. At the end, who was it? It's just, and then I had another meeting with Michael just now, a regular weekly meeting. And he was talking about some games or something, whatever. They're saying like, oh, this person didn't respond or something like that. But it's games. Like, I get it. I understand the concept of playing the game of business, and it's fun. Not gonna lie, but it ruins productivity. You can get so much more done if you just get rid of the ego in the games. If you just focus up on doing what's important, right? You focus on the actual work and then throw away kind of that feeling of, yeah, I don't know. Who am I to talk at this point? I feel like, but I think I'm already someone to talk a little bit, right? We're starting something. So I guess, but at least we're here, right? So at least something I'm doing is working right. How far is it going to get? I could still be doing 10 things wrong, but at least something is right. So follow this track you know, if, if you want to try this, it could work, right? It's worked for me so far. We'll see where it goes, right? It's still early in its early stages, but so is everything. And I guess, yeah, it's just get rid of the ego at the end of the day. I think get rid of the ego, do stuff logically, get rid of those feelings, those emotions, and they're valuable to have. And this is something, I see my team, right? And people are like, oh, I don't want to say this because it's going to embarrass you or oh, it's going to hurt your feelings. You're right. It will hurt my feelings. And that's kind of the thing that I think people have to understand. It will hurt your feelings. If you say something not nice to someone, it hurts their feelings. I just also understand that hurting my feelings is only temporary. right? Hurting my feelings is going to be something that I'm going to feel hurt for a day for, and then I'll move on, but I'll learn from that, or I'll know you hurt my feelings that way. And that's just, and again, obviously you have to have this kind of character where you're willing to take that, or sometimes people hold grudges, right? If you hold a grudge on someone and someone, insults you one day, then you keep being insulted by that for the next while, right? And that's not good. But if you're able to get insulted and then know to say, okay, that's fine. That, I was hurt a little bit that day, but now that's my ego. Now we're on to the next part, right? And now I understand that either that was constructive criticism or it wasn't constructive and it was just criticism for the sake of criticism and it hurt me a little bit, but so what? Now I'm better for it, right? It's just having that understanding and always living like that, like constantly, right? Understanding that, yeah, this moment is just this moment. There's good things that you're going to do in this moment. There's bad things. When I was talking there, and we are talking about that afterward. But when I go on when I go on camera and talk too quickly or speak in public and it just doesn't sound good or anything like that, right? You're gonna have things that you do that you're not going to be so good at, whatever they are. And that's just fleeting, right? That whole feeling of I don't know what I'm doing is just right now. And then you learn it. And you're going to learn from the mistakes. You're going to make some mistakes, but you're going to learn from those mistakes. And then next time it'll be a little better. And again, it's not about perfecting it on the second try either, right? You have to go through the process, whatever. And again, it depends what kind of thing it is, depends how big the process is. But basically, end of this whole talk, totally went off topic, but I guess that's what I'll focus this, today on. But just in terms of getting things done, you have to get rid of ego. You have to get rid of that personal feeling of accomplishment or that personal feeling of value. And it's really just about the brand, right? The brand. It's really just about your goals, right? Whatever the goals are. At the end of the day, if your goal is to make a certain partnership, your goal is to get a certain job or build a certain company or whatever it is, make it about your goals, right? Forget about any personal part of it. Think logically too is just one thing. There's emotional thinking, and I think it's very important to think emotionally sometimes, but not in business. In business, I think there's no emotions, there's no family members, even when you're working with family, and this is something that I think is key also, right? When you're working with family, you can work with family and friends. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the work relationship is the work relationship, and the personal relationship is the personal relationship. And if you can't split that up as two totally different individuals and two totally different beings, then maybe you shouldn't be working together, right? And that's very difficult. It's very difficult to do because you have to understand that you can yell at this person, you can scream at this person in business sense, because it's business sometimes, um, and then hug and kiss them right afterward because it's family, right? There are lines that shouldn't be crossed there, and there obviously are, you know, yeah, there's a lot more to that. So just take that with a grain of salt. But again, like always, right? Whatever I'm saying now could change, right? My opinions change. I learn more stuff. This is the way I feel. This is the way the world is to me right now. And that changes. That changes over time. I'm going to learn a lot more throughout the rest of my life. And I could totally disagree with what I just said. But at this point, I agree with that. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, but yeah, either way, we're going places. Stuff are happening. Getting excited, gonna message everyone again. We're all back into it. Schedule the meeting for Friday, so everyone's in. Everyone's gonna be showing up. It'll be good. It'll be very good. I think like I said, we just really need to get some stuff running for the summer because that's gonna be important. And then kind of, yeah, figure out money because we need to really start generating some proper revenue. I mean, although do have ideas for that, we really need to get some sponsors and serious money, not just, yeah, we need some big serious money. And that's how we can really prove ourselves, right? At the end of the day, I'm the I'm a business person, and I understand the numbers. I'm not so good at the technical stuff in terms of the science. So for me to really prove kind of, the value that I have is to have money to play with, right? Once I have money that I can show, okay, I'm spending it correctly, we're doing this right, or or being strategic with it and stuff like that. That's where I can really prove myself. So yeah, we'll get there. All in a day's work. still really tired. Hopefully tomorrow's a little bit more open, to be the last one for this week too. And then we'll, yeah, hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something, and